Hello, welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket with me, Simon Hughes.
And I'm Simon Mann.
Glorious weather greeting the start of the County Championship season on Friday. Guaranteed, if you look at the weather map. Don't think there's a sprinkle of rain anywhere, which is, quite a revelation, isn't it, really? It's so often pre-season, kind of end of March, the daffodils are out, the sun's shining, and you think, great, it's county cricket. And then suddenly a wintry snap hits the country and everyone's shivering and bobble hats are out in force. But actually, it doesn't look like it's going to be that this year, does it? It looks like the weather is set fair for a few days and we could get 9 results in the first week of county cricket. That'll be a revelation because I remember actually last year, Simon, there were a lot of draws and some rained off matches as well. And really the season struggled to get going last year. Maybe this year will be different.
It's the total unpredictability of the English weather. I mean, it is remarkable, isn't it? I think it's been the driest and sunniest March on record, and it's going into April. I think even at Derby, where Gloucestershire start on Friday, it's going to be sunny and 18 degrees, and also similar temperatures in Manchester. London 20 degrees on Friday, which is what is it great for the spinners, Yoz? Is the ball going to be spinning after all this dry weather?
Well, they won't get hold of the ball for a start because the seamers will want it for most of the day. But actually, even when they do get hold of the ball, their fingers will just be a little bit cold because there's still an easterly wind blowing through, which makes the temperature just a little bit chillier than the gauge says it is. And it's always tough, isn't it, spinners early season. There's not much response out of the pitches and therefore, seamers dominate. But an exciting opportunity for everyone. So we're going to preview the county championship this season. We've also got an interview in the show with Lewis Gregory, the captain of Somerset, who, of course, have never won the county championship and are champing at the bit to try and get their chance this year. They narrowly missed out last year, and we'll talk about how they missed out last year and what they can perhaps do this year to improve their chances of toppling Surrey, who are set for their 4th championship in a row. People are calling it the 4-peat, aren't they, or something? And it's something they've done before. Surrey actually won 7 in a row in the 1950s under the famous captaincy of Stuart Surridge, and Alex Stewart's dad, Mickey Stewart, of course, played in that side. He's the oldest Test player still alive, actually, Mickey, and Alec is still part of the scene at Surrey, isn't he? I read an interview with him recently saying that he's spent some time with Alex Ferguson and got some useful advice about the continuum, how to keep success going as a coach or director of cricket or a manager or whatever. And, just investing in the future is a key thing, which obviously Surrey are very good at. So they brought in a couple of new players and they've still got a strength to absolutely be the envy of the world.
Yeah, I think most counties, or all counties, recognise that Surrey are the team to beat again. Very strong at home. That's strong seam attack on that oval surface that has some grass and some bounce. And yeah, it's a formula that's worked really well for them in recent seasons. Yorkshire 33 titles, Surrey 23, and then your old county Middlesex in 3rd place with 12 and Lancashire on 9. You said Somerset have never won the county championship. Quick quiz, Yoz. Who are the other 2 teams that have never won the county championship?
Gloucestershire.
Gloucestershire is one of them.
And Northamptonshire.
Northamptonshire, yeah.
Yeah.
Never won
Gloucestershire,
the county
poor old Gloucester. The sad thing is that they won the championship before it was the county championship, didn't they? Under W.G. Grace and his cohort. The Gloucestershire team of the 1880s and early 1890s were really good and dominated, but there were only about 7 or 8 teams in that competition. So unfortunately, it doesn't count.
Yeah, and sometimes, I'm just trying to dredge this up from my memory. I think sometimes the title was sort of decided by, one year I think it was decided by journalists or something. They decided who won. They'd won the county championship. I mean, it wasn't sort of like the competition that we've experienced during our lifetimes. It was a bit more Heath Robinson back in those days. So the official county championship started in 1890. So you have to have won it since the 1890 to count for that.
Yeah, I'm sad to say that's true. It's amazing. They played so many more games. And well, funny, I was looking up the other day because it was Bill Edrich, the famous part of the Compton and Edrich pair that dominated cricket for Middlesex in the 1940s and 1950s. And they, of course, in 1947, they both scored over 3,000 runs in a season. I think Bill Edrich scored about 3,300 and Compton scored 3,800 runs with 18 centuries. But they did play 30 games. This year, they're playing 14 games. And listen back to our last podcast, actually, because Tim Bostock, the chief executive of Durham, has come up with some interesting ideas, some interesting theories about how the game and the domestic game could be restructured to accommodate all this cricket and make it a bit fairer as well, and bring in some climaxes at the end of the season as well. So look out for that last podcast. Tim Bostock. It's called Seeing Red, actually, and it's some good ideas that he's brought in, which he's trying to bring in, which he's been talking to other chief executives about. They've had a couple of meetings in the last couple of days about it, and actually, also, if you listen to that podcast, I did mention on it that you can win tickets to the Lord's Test if you go to our Crickverse blog Substack site. So Google the Crickverse, CRICVERSE, and there's a way there of winning Lord's tickets for the Test match, England versus India. It's a long way ahead. That's in July. The tie of the round this time, starting on Friday, is definitely Essex-Surrey. I put a poll on my Twitter feed saying, who do you think will win the county championship? And not surprisingly, 52% said Surrey. Only 10% said Essex, and Somerset 15%. So, Surrey definitely dominant, but Essex hosting Surrey in that first match at Chelmsford, that's an opportunity to stake a little claim, steal a march on Surrey, perhaps, preparing something that might suit that excellent Essex bowling attack, probably arguably the best bowling attack in the country. The two seamers and Simon Harmer. So Sam Cook, Jamie Porter, Simon Harmer have got 1,271 first-class wickets between them, and Sam Cook has taken 311 at 19 in his county career. People are talking about him for England this summer. So Essex, they do have that very good bowling attack, which Surrey will be struggling to combat.
And one thing we're going to do after the break, after we've heard from Lewis Gregory, is we're going to talk about our 5 cricketers that we're going to follow. Not necessarily 5 cricketers to look out for this season, but we both selected 5 players who we are in particular going to look out for and see how they're going to go this season. So stand by for that. And you've already mentioned one of them that's in my quintet. Sam Cook. Interesting to see how he goes this summer. Yeah, but look, Surrey looks strong. I queried you about whether Essex has got the best bowling attacks. I think Surrey have got lots of strong pace options certainly, and that was their formula, and that's been their formula. I mean, okay, they've used Cameron Steele a little bit, but really it's about pace, isn't it, for them, and that strength at home. I noticed in your poll there that no one went for Hampshire, who actually last season finished second in the table, and they were one of 2 teams to beat Surrey. They actually hammered them by an innings and 278 runs in late May. No James Vince in the championship.
That's the key thing
this season at the start. Anyway, there's some suggestion he might play later on, but he's living in Dubai now. He's engaged elsewhere as well, Pakistan Super League. So there's an issue for Hampshire, but they've got some decent pace bowling options as well. A lot of it seems to me with the championship is who stays fit, who gets selected for what. Yeah, having said that, Surrey last season losing Atkinson and Smith to England duty, but still had that all-round strength. And of course, the other thing which, if you're a very wealthy county, which you can do, is you can bring in players, can't you, during the season, just to bolster your ranks. Did it with Shakib at the end of the season. Didn't work for them in that game against Somerset. Yeah. They lost the game, and we'll talk about that match in just a moment when we hear from Lewis Gregory. What about Somerset? Let's focus on Somerset for a bit. I mean, they've never won the county championship. The great sort of Garner, Richards, Botham era. The best they did back then was third in 1981. They did finish third last season. They were runners-up 4 times in the 2010s, but actually before last summer when they finished third, they'd gone 7th, 6th in the previous season. So actually, last summer was a sort of a leap forward for them. And again, beaten in 2 finals as well, beaten in 2 one-day finals. They lost to Glamorgan in the One-Day Cup, and they lost to Gloucestershire in the Blast final. So they had a pretty good season, but again, just not quite. They're a disruptor. It seems to me, the county Somerset. And what I mean by this is, we listened to Tim Bostock last week, and he was, putting forward some plans for the future of the county championship and also the future of the Blast as well. And he was talking about reducing the number of matches in the Blast to accommodate his plans on a shorter county season. Of course, Somerset, one of those counties for whom the current structure kind of works. They get good crowds of championship. They get excellent crowds to the Blast. They're not part of the 100, and so there's and they can mine that talent in their part of the world as well, which they've done well, and they're a kind of like a sort of unusual success story, but they're a bit of a throwback in one way, because they're not totally part of the modern thinking. They're not a test match ground, and yet they have a real degree of success, but they can't quite get over the line in the championship, and they're struggling to win some finals as well. So. They're an interesting county. I mean, when I was listening to Tim Bostock last week, I was thinking, Somerset are going to be against these proposals. They're not in favour, because they make a lot of money out of the home Blast matches, for example. They kind of like the structure as it is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they draw on actually a lot of very good school cricket, don't they, in that area? There's a lot of, the schools like Millfield that really specialise in sport and feed players their way. For instance, Archie Vaughan, Michael Vaughan's son, went to Millfield. They have a couple of very experienced coaches who used to work with England there as well. And I suppose it's such a big catchment area. It doesn't have football's overbearing influence quite as much in Somerset as perhaps in other counties. So, maybe more young sportsmen and women are geared towards or steered more towards playing cricket. And I just think it's just a very well-run club as well. They're imaginative, they're innovative, they have a really kind of collective spirit about them. We'll hear Lewis Gregory talking about them. They have a lot of Toms as well. They have Tom Lammonby, they have Tom Banton, they have Tom Abel, all of them batters, all of them doing well last year. They all had good seasons. I know Lewis Gregory has highlighted Tom Banton as being someone who had a bit of a dip in his career after an early sort of bit of success, but now he's coming back strongly and was called up by England recently in the winter. They bolstered their bowling this year with Matt Henry, who played for them a few years ago, and he's phenomenal early season. He won't be available for the first match because he's still nursing a bit of an injury from the Champions Trophy, but he is everybody's number one pick to bowl early season in county cricket. He's done so well. I think he's averaging 16 in county cricket for the various teams he's played for. So, they've got that armoury to them. I sometimes think they lack a real pace bowler. They've got lots of good seamers like Craig Overton and others, but perhaps they don't have that one person who can bowl real quick pace. Anyway, interesting squad, very talented young players coming through like Archie Vaughan and James Rue and so on. I think when I had Lewis on the program last night, when I had Lewis interviewed last night, I said to him that the first thing I said really was that you've been in this Somerset side for so long and got so close. Was it the moment when Jack Leach got that wicket of Dan Worrell to bowl out Surrey in the last over of that match, 3 from the end of the season, and win that key game? Was that the time that you thought it was going to be your year?
Yeah, I guess we obviously knew coming into September that we'd got ourselves in a good position, but there was still a hell of a lot of work to do. And obviously we knew we were playing Surrey, and that was a must-win game. And it was a very strange game because it kind of petered out a little bit. The wicket kind of got very slow, and there was still a little bit of spin on offer, but kind of nothing really happened for about 3 or 4 hours. And then we were actually about to shake hands. And Leachy basically was like he wanted one more over, and that was the last ball of that over. I think it was either Sibley or Folkes out, and then we kept going. I think it was like eight poles in the last hour or 7 poles in the last hour, which is ridiculous to obviously give ourselves a sniff. But yeah, I guess moments like that, you think could it be? Things seem to be going your way, and unfortunately, it wasn't to be. We had a pretty rough last 2 weeks of the season last year, but yeah, we've got a lot of young guys in the dressing room that experience is only going to help them.
Yeah, and I think, if you look at your team, there are some people there. I mean, you do want that sort of balance between experience and youth, don't you? But you've got youth, but that youth has had some experience now, and you sort of feel like that it's gelling together from the outside. Looks like it's gelling together well. So have you put your finger on what you can do now to just crank it up a bit more and get closer to Surrey, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're looking at squad depth, I don't think anyone can compete with Surrey. They've got 30, 35 blokes on their staff, and more often than not, they're leaving out quality players that are always refreshed and ready to go when they get their opportunity. We unfortunately don't quite have that luxury, but that we try to strengthen, I guess, the depth that we've got with the ball. Obviously, you understand you've got to take 20 wickets to win games of cricket. So we've got 2 overseas bowlers coming in with obviously the strength and depth that we've got with our local players with the ball, and yeah, we've got some experience and some really good young talent with the bat as well. And I mean, last year, obviously seeing how Bance came to the fore in red ball cricket, and the way he's come back at the start of this year and hitting the ball is really impressive to see, and hopefully he can kick on from last year. You got likes of Rui, who's played 3 years, he's only 21, and then obviously the development of Archie Bourne that we saw at the back end of last year, and he's going to be one hell of a cricketer, and hopefully he can start that process this year.
I said to his dad, actually, the one thing he needs to do is sort of look a bit more, I don't know, sort of beefy or something, because he looks a little bit diffident. When he takes a wicket, he's almost like an old player who sort of walks away and embarrassed. If I got hold of him, I'd say to him, look, just celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of go, come on, like that. And because he's quite a sort of, not shy, but he's which is surprising given who his dad is. But, well, he never got a word in edgeways with his dad. That was the problem. So I just thought he needs body language, which his dad was big on, actually. His back.
Yeah.
If you talk to Varney about captaincy, he says, be a good actor. Even if you're quaking inside, don't show it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think Borney's he's coming out of his shell, so
Yes. Good.
he's one of them. I think he's a confident young lad. He backs himself, and I think the more he'll go through this summer, you'll probably see a little bit more of the exuberance from him. But yeah, he's one hell of a talented lad, and hopefully he can sort of crack it straight away.
He bowled so well, didn't he, at the end of last season? It was great to see the drift and the spin and everything. Must be lovely to bowl at that ground. For you, so you were talking about bowlers there. So you've got Matt Henry and I think Riley Meredith as well, haven't you?
So we've got Riley. Riley's just for the T20s.
Oh, right.
So we've got Miggy Pretorius back again. So he's here with us for the whole summer. I think he was only for about half the year last year. So obviously with the strength of the guys that we've already got in Borley, Craigo, Josh Davey, and then a couple of good, really exciting young lads as well. If they can stay fit, could sort of, I guess, get an opportunity as well.
And Matt Henry, who's very consistent. Now, is he there at the start?
So he's meant to be here for the second game.
Okay. Yeah.
At the moment, and obviously there's a little bit of an injury cloud over what happened in the Champions Trophy. So,
yeah. Do you think that? I mean, this is a conversation I've had with a couple of people. One was Sam Northeast last week, and also Tim Bostock, the chief exec of Durham, talking about the structure of the season. Is this really too early to be playing county championship cricket, 4th of April?
I think with the weather we've had over the last few weeks, I don't think so.
But you've got 8 games or 7 or 8 games before anything else happens. I mean, suddenly more than half the season is over by mid to late May.
Yeah, and I guess that's the tough thing with it is if you don't have a great start to the year, you're pretty much out of the running by 23rd, 24th of May.
You have issues with injuries that people are carrying from winter series or winter competition, or they can't arrive because they're playing in a tournament somewhere. You're sort of cobbling together a team a little bit for the first couple of weeks of the year. I mean, obviously there's no Root or Brook for Yorkshire, and I don't know. It feels like it's a sort of stuttering start as a competition.
Yeah, I guess it can be. I think when you're playing in it, it probably doesn't feel like that quite as much. But Because I guess you get stuck in, don't you? You go, well, this is the start, and we've got what we've got, and you're doing as best as you can. But yeah, I guess this year, obviously with the stuff that's going on with IPL, PSL, obviously clashing this year, it obviously reduces the amount of overseas that are available for the start of the year. So yeah, it can feel, I guess, like you're trying to muddle a team and a squad together to crack on this early, but ultimately, I think there's obviously a lot of cricket they're trying to cram in, and the only way you do that is by starting as early as we are. But that's obviously, I guess, for another debate.
What, as captain, what's that like? Because you haven't got quite your full quota of players start of the season. You know, in the olden days, you'd know exactly what your squad was, and you probably have the first 11, first team sort of inked in for the first couple of games. Now, you know, there are people kind of arriving, and you know, one or two injury situations and things like that. What's that like as captain? Can you plan, or do you have to be quite kind of reactive to sort of situations and be quite spontaneous almost?
Yeah, I think you can plan, but I think you quite rightly you have to be able to adapt with things that are out of your control. You can sign. I think last year we signed Will Sutherland, and 3 weeks before the season started, he basically said he wasn't coming because he had a stress fracture. You've got to adapt, and luckily we've got the strength in depth for the start of the year, I guess, to deal with that and the quality in our local guys. Yeah, when you're trying to scramble together overseas players, I think for the majority of last year we only had one overseas player across all formats. From probably, I guess, a financial thing, but also being able to access the quality with, I guess, all that's going on in the franchise world and who's available. But yeah, you've got to be able to react, but equally you can plan. I think this year's gone pretty smoothly for us, which is quite nice so far. And you pretty much have 9 guys, I guess, inked on the paper, and it's yeah, a few other guys playing for those other 2 spots.
And how does Somerset keep doing it? You know, you've got a small population. You're not a particularly rich county, obviously, compared to Surrey or somebody like that, Lancashire. And yet you keep producing excellent cricketers, and there's a spirit there. Is it sort of small town syndrome? You're all together as one. It's like a family. You know, what is it about Taunton and Somerset that makes you such a strong sort of cricketing unit?
Yeah, I think so. I think like we're incredibly lucky with, I guess, the structure of the club and what they've created with the pathway in terms of we keep producing good young cricketers that go on to be successful, play for England, have a really good county career, which I guess for a start is what you need. And it's a difficult place to recruit to. It's like you say, it's a small, quiet town that not too many people wanna move to. So we've got to keep creating our own and producing our own players. And
But do you
yeah,
create a sort of, I mean, what is it that attracts people to Somerset? Because you know, it feels like there's a sort of vibrancy there. I mean, how do you create that culture?
I think it helps. Like you say, everyone's mates with each other. Everyone, bar one or two, live 10, 15 minutes away from each other. So there's a lot of time spent together outside of cricket, which I don't know whether you get that at other clubs, whether
Definitely
it's got
wouldn't
that,
in London. You definitely wouldn't.
yeah, whether you got that bit more of a, I guess, work feel for some other clubs. But it is, yeah, all the guys are mates. I think we had yesterday, there were 12 playing, they had 2, 3, you know, 3 tea times where they were all out playing golf together. I think there was another 2 tea times today. So the guys are spending a lot of time with each other, and they're friends. They want to, I guess, win for each other, and you're trying to do the job not just for yourself, but for the man on your left and right. And that, I guess, that corrugated with the support that we've got down there is it's a nice feel for people to want to be successful.
Who's the best golfer in the team?
Unfortunately, it pains me to say it, but James Rue. Yeah, he played yesterday, shot 3 under, I think. So took
Wow.
all the boys to the cleaners.
Where was that?
So they played down at Exeter Golf Club yesterday, and then they played at Oak Manor, just on the outskirts of Taunton today.
Mm.
So,
And do
yeah, I
you have
think
things like, I mean, you know, some counties and some sports teams have sort of slogans on the wall or on the dressing room. You know, greatness is achieved by attention to detail or the winning culture or something. I mean, do you have any of that kind of stuff? Are you a speech maker?
we don't have any of that. I guess my kind of style is very chilled and laid back, and my how I want the team to operate is basically I guess get the best out of the individual. I guess give them the opportunity to be the cricketer that they want to be, and I guess take all the fluff that can cloud brains in this world. It's a difficult sport. You can get bogged down mentally with the game, and I guess try and take all that away so that guys can be the cricketers that they want to be, and go out and express themselves.
And are you good at dealing with the sort of different issues? Because I remember when Alistair Cook took over as England captain, and one of the things he really hated was that when you got off the field at the end of a game or the end of a day's play, everyone just went to their phones and started looking at emails and Instagram and stuff. And he sort of brought a kind of informal ban into using your phone for half an hour because he just wanted everybody to talk about the game or, reflect on the day rather than immersing yourself in your own little world. How do you deal with things like that?
Yeah, I guess it's becoming more and more difficult with the younger guys coming into the dressing room, and I guess they've grown up their whole life with technology. And we are lucky that the guys get on so well, and like, they will have a quick flick on their phone, but more often than not, they are sort of, I guess, engaging. We've got a dartboard in the dressing room, which the lads love. So there's a lot of sort of, I guess, darts matches going on as soon as play finishes. That
Who's the Luke Littler in the team then?
Oh, I'll tell you what, Lewis Goldsworthy will be the best darts player. He's a lot lighter than Luke Littler for sure, but yeah, he'll be the best out of the bunch, to be fair. But there's a few that fancy themselves.
Okay, and so looking ahead to the season, you got a couple of days to go. What are you doing? Are you one of these captains with your coach that sort of winds down the practice closer to the start of the season, or are you kind of upping the ante? How does that work?
Yeah, no, all the hard work's done. So we'll have a sort of a squad practice on Wednesday tomorrow. And then Thursday we'll be in, and it'll be guys basically get what they need. If that's nothing, that's nothing. Whether it's just come in, get a gym session done, or see a physio, or whatever you need to do, and then ready to go on Friday. But yeah, the hard work's done. Guys are in a great place, and yeah, it's an exciting time of the year.
And you're feeling good about your own fitness, are you?
Yeah, I'm probably slightly undercooked than where I'd want to be, but I physically feel like I can do the job that I need to. The skills from this week were where they needed to be, came out really well. So I guess it's just a physicality thing now of, obviously, if I need to get through 40 sets, being able to do that. But yeah, I'm sure there's some medications that will help the body through for the 4 days.
Do you think you can do it this year? I mean, you're bound to say yes, but what are the things that need to happen for you to Somerset to achieve? I mean, it's a great opportunity, isn't it? First ever county championship title. I mean, no reason why. I know Surrey are very good, but they'll have test calls. They'll have injuries. In a way, it's harder to stay at the top than it is to get to the top in the first place. What do you need to do to kind of really compete and kind of challenge for that title?
Yeah, I think from my side that since the start of last year, I've tried to. There's been obviously the resounding thing ever since I've been at Somerset about not being either having won the county championship, and like I just think the mental toil that can bring on people's staff, coaching staff, players, and so last year we sat down and basically tried to say, look, this isn't about winning the county championship. We want to basically spend the first 5 months getting ourselves in a position to win the county championship. So the vast majority of the summer, we're not even thinking about winning. It's about playing the cricket that we want to play, that's going to help us get in a position come September where we're in with a shout, which we did last year. And like I said earlier, we had a tough couple of weeks at the back end of the season, which I think is going to stand us in good stead this year. And I see it as no different. I guess trying to plot our way to the top of the table come September, and I guess everything's in your own hands. But trying to take away, I guess, the mental load of no one has ever won the county championship at Somerset, and it's never been done, and how good it would be to do it for sure. But yeah, look, we're a group of blokes that are going to out there try our hardest and try and get ourselves in a position to win come back end of September.
So really, it's about, and actually this is part of I sometimes do a talk on planning your campaigns, and it's about sort of brick by brick, I guess, rather than looking too far. You don't want to be building the house and the roof before you've got the foundation. So I guess you're trying to sort of take people's mind off August, September, June, whatever, and think, little processes at a time, I suppose, which sounds boring, but I guess
Yeah.
they're doing it.
Yeah, it's like ultimately for sure everyone would love to win the county championship this year. Of course they would. There's 17 other counties sitting in the same place saying that they would love to do that.
Is it
And
still
we're
the thing that drives, say, you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, to say you'd be the first ever to lift that trophy for your club would be an unbelievable moment of anyone's career. And yeah, it's definitely a huge driver in terms of goals that I want for my career. I think we've probably come second about 5, 6, 7 times since I've been at the club, which it shows some amazing consistency. But we've obviously not quite had enough in the crunch moments to do enough. And hopefully this year we've got the depth and the quality to go really deep, I guess, in September and challenge for that trophy. Like you said, I think Surrey is still the team to beat with the depth and quality that they've got, but I think we showed last year that they're not unbeatable. I guess hopefully a few other teams can take that mentality to them and make it a little bit more challenging for them this year.
So that was Lewis Gregory reflecting on this year and how last year will impact on that. And they will have learned from that undoubtedly. I do think that winning the championship is something that can become a habit. And it helps if you've done it before because you sort of know how to get there and you recognise the key moments. And you mentioned my Middlesex side that have won 12 championships. We won 4 in the decade 1980 to 90. And you expected to win games. You expected to get to the top of the table and stay there. And I think the other thing is we had bench strength. We had players we had England call-ups. 1985, we had 4 players out for half the season because they were called up by England. So our best 4 players missing. But we still won the championship because we had players who could come in who'd had experience of coming in and being in the limelight and playing against the top sides and being expected to win. And obviously Surrey are a bit the same. Now you look at that Surrey side and players like Tom Laws, who's been in the England Lions, he can't get in the Surrey side. And, so much talent. Someone like Ben Folkes is there all the time. They're not going to suffer England calls. They're expecting to win it again. And that really helps to just lift spirits, lift self-belief, which of course is what so much of what sport is about, is going on in the mind. Anyway, we'll take a quick break, and afterwards you can hear who are our players to follow for this season.
So we're on the eve of the new season, and we are going to detail our 5 cricketers who we are going to follow. You don't have to follow them yourselves, but these are the 5 cricketers we are going to follow. Just very quickly, Oz, and just on we're talking about Surrey and bench strength and Somerset's prospects this season, and the prospects for one or two of the other teams as well, like Essex and Hampshire. I think the championship is okay. It has been predictable in the last few years because Surrey have been so strong, but there is that sort of unknown factor of injuries, call-ups, whatever, and also conditions are so different over the season as well. You're talking about early April, we don't know what the weather's going to be like in May, and then you've got some matches in June, July, no cricket in August, or the end of one championship round just dribbles into August, and then you've got September matches as well where you just don't quite know what the weather. It's like a really bizarre season because it's so long. It's 6 months long in a way that when you were playing, you were talking about winning the title with Middlesex, it was nowhere near that long, was it? It was probably 3.5 months, something like that. And by early September it was pretty much all over. You didn't go deep into the into September playing in the last week. You certainly didn't start the season and play a whole round of a heap of matches in April. So it's so different now. And you don't quite know who's going to be playing in September. You say, "Oh, this is our squad now," but it can change around so much. I was actually just looking at Warwickshire. My eye was caught by Warwickshire's overseas players, and how it is difficult just to fit everyone in and get the right players at the right time. Like Warwickshire, for example, we've got Tom Latham for the whole season. They got Vishwa Fernando for April. They have got Bo Webster for May and July, and they've got Hassan Ali for some of May and September. He's got all these overseas players sort of slotting in, and it might even change then because of injuries. So there are lots of unknowns, I think, with the county championship, and it does kind of make it a bit unpredictable. Having said that, of course, Surrey have made it quite predictable in the last few years, and they do look strong again. But no guarantees. They won the title by 17 points last season, which is kind of one victory, isn't it? So. Even then, it can be quite fine margins. Okay, let's have a look at our 5 players who we are going to follow this season. Do you want to do one by one, or do you want to give me your first 5 to start with, and your 5, I should say, and tell me a quick reason why you're going to follow them?
Okay, well, I'll do my 5 then. You mentioned Warwickshire there, and one player I'd really like to see thriving this year and watch his progress, Alex Davis. I saw him bat really well at the Utilita Bowl against Hampshire last year. He's a busy player. He's got lots of shots. He's now the Warwickshire captain as well. And I just think he's got something about him as a player, really busy at the crease and good in adversity. Made well over 1,000 runs last year, averaged 50. And I just think, England needs somebody to, I suppose, not quite like Ben Duckett, but they need someone who's busy at the crease and who can, get the innings off to a solid start, but with fluency. And if Zach Crawley fails early season, there is a scope, there's an opportunity there for a good opening batter. So he would be one that I'd be looking to see how he performs. Another guy who's opened the batting some of the time, but probably will bat lower down the order this year, Archie Vaughan. Lewis Gregory mentioned him, Michael Vaughan's son, of course. I've seen him growing up, actually. My kids and his were playing together on a sports camp a few years ago, and you could see the talent. I felt at times he was a bit of a diffident sort of character who didn't necessarily back himself, but I think that's changed over time, and he's now got more confidence, and obviously a very talented batter, but showing prowess with the ball as well. Took key wickets for Somerset last year, bowling his off spin, and in the winter for the under-19s as well, bowled out South Africa in one game. So, he's very, very talented. Lewis Gregory clearly rates him. Then a couple of others that we've seen, a little bit before. Rayan Ahmed, who I don't think delivers enough with the bat. When England are looking for a spinner to partner Shoaib Bashir, if indeed he does keep his place, they need someone who can bat as well. And I think Rayan Ahmed has talent with the ball, but he should be making more runs. And Leicester have given him the chance to bat up the order, and I don't think at times he's really taken that opportunity. So this is the year I think Rayan really needs to deliver with the bat as much as with the ball. Josh Tongue, someone that Ricky Ponting really rated very highly when he played in the Ashes a couple of years ago, obviously suffered an unfortunate injury since then, but has come back strongly with the Lions last winter. He's got genuine pace, and England are going to need everything. I mean, how will Mark Wood recover from his latest injury? We don't know. It will certainly take him till June, July to be fully fit. You need someone else who's got that extra bit of pace. So Josh Tongue. And then finally, another spinner who's done really well for Sussex, Jack Carson, who bowls off spin but can bat as well, and took 50 wickets for Sussex last year, admittedly in the second division, but someone that we're looking at as a potential threat to Bashir, possibly. Better batter, scored 97 for Sussex in a game last year, obviously good with the ball. So a great opportunity for him to develop as well, playing in Division 1 this year.
So those are the 5 cricketers you're going to look out for. So not this, you don't have to follow them, but we will. And what we'll do at the end of the season, we'll perhaps have a look back at how they've gone. In 6 months' time, in the mists of time, we'll sort of look back and how their seasons have gone. Okay, here are my 5 who I'm going to look out for. Well, one of them we've already mentioned. That's Sam Cooke. Now, this guy, you mentioned his figures, 311 first-class wickets at 19. It's a phenomenal record for someone not to have been selected by England, not to have been given a Test cap. He did go to Australia with the Lions. He's not super quick, and that's what I think one of the problems is with the current England regime is they see him as not being quick enough to do it in Australia. But I've spoken to people who are very good judges of the game who say that he is highly skillful. And so he is someone that I'm fascinated to see how his season goes, whether he does get selected, and if he does get selected, how he goes. So Sam Cook is one player that I'm really going to be looking out for this season.
And by the way, I mean, it's not so important now, I don't think, to have pace in Australia. Look at Scott Boland, for instance, who's done superbly for Australia in Test cricket in Australia. So it's about skill as much as it is about pace in Australia. And I think England have become slightly obsessed by the idea of needing pace for Australia. Just need really good bowlers.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, we'll see how he goes on. You mentioned Alex Davis as an opener. I'm looking at someone like Ben McKinney, so he's another one that I'm looking out for this season. The Durham opener, 20 years of age. I mean, they really like him. The England setup likes him, so he is someone that if Zach Crawley doesn't do particularly well, that could slot in. I mean, we've seen the propensity from England to play young players like Jacob Shoaib Bashir. Give them a go, because they really rate them. So he is someone worth looking out for this season. I'm sure a lot of people will be focusing on Ben McKinney. Sonny Baker is my third pick. Now, he's an interesting cricketer, a young bowler who was at Somerset and has been picked up by Hampshire this season, and that they like what they've seen of him. He's another one that went with the Lions. The thing about him is he's actually been given an incremental contract. He's got no record to speak of, really. You look at his career figures, and nothing particularly flash. Hasn't played a huge amount of cricket, but he's a bowler, a young bowler that clearly they've seen something in, and I'll be interested to see how he goes at Hampshire this year. James Rue at Somerset, how is he going to continue his development? Is he going to get a chance at a higher level? Obviously, very, very talented, and by all accounts, a very good golfer as well. So he's 21 years of age. And the other person that look, the fifth person that I'm going to really look out for this summer is someone we know well. He's featured in the last season or so, year and a half, more than that for England, and that is Shoaib Bashir. Because, look, he gets in the England team. He took a 5 for last summer against West Indies, but he's been knocked around quite a lot in his last few Test series. And how is he going to react to a summer where, well, he can't get in the Somerset team, so he's gone out to Glamorgan on loan, and then he's got Test matches potential against Zimbabwe, and then against India, and then the Ashes. England want a spinner. Ben Stokes, I like to have a spinner on my side. They've really nailed their colours to the Shoaib Bashir mast, but he has been expensive. And look, there's absolutely no criticism of him whatsoever. He's a young bowler. He's kind of learning his game in the Test match arena. I think the focus is going to be on him this summer. The pressure's going to be on him to produce. Can he hold can he hold an end? Can he take wickets against very talented batters from India? And then what does that mean going forward toward the Ashes? So I'm fascinated to see how Shoaib Bashir goes this summer. I mean, I've said it before. The Shoaib Bashir probably that you want now going to the Ashes is the Shoaib Bashir of 8 years' time or something like that, when he's a much more mature bowler in his perhaps late 20s. But that's not the way of it. And, so I think it's an issue for England, and I'm absolutely fascinated to see how they handle it and how he handles it as well.
He took 49 wickets in the calendar year last year in Test cricket, didn't he? And that was, I think, second in the world. But it was at high cost, well over 40.
So 40, yeah, 49 at 40.
Yeah,
which is quite high, isn't it? It is quite high.
No, it is high. It is high. I mean, it shows he can take wickets, but he just hasn't quite got that control. And I mean, of course, it'll be interesting to see who he plays for as well. After a few games with Glamorgan, if Mason Crane comes back, then because he's injured at the moment, Shoaib will have to find somewhere else to play. I'd suggest he should come and play at Lords, actually, although that isn't that first division. That's going to be second division Middlesex. But Middlesex...
Well, he's going to be playing second division Glamorgan, isn't he?
Yeah, true. I suppose any cricket's better than none, really. And Middlesex haven't really got a strong frontline spinner. So it would be a good opportunity to play. And you always actually, funny enough, when you play at Lords, even if you're playing in the second division, you're going to be in front of important, influential people. Shoaib Bashir got his chance originally when Stokes and others saw him bowling on a stream on YouTube. So it was always a great opportunity actually to play at Lords, because you knew there'd be selectors wandering past and, at a
Listen,
meeting in the
Yoz,
committee room or
listen,
something.
listen,
There's a
listen.
bias. There's a bias.
Gone are the days. Gone are the days when the selectors didn't leave Lords. They just stayed in the committee room. They do get out and about now a lot more, which is good. And also, you're right. You can watch all the matches as well. It's amazing, Yoz, that you never got picked to play for England.
I must have been rubbish. The number of selectors. Well, of course, the trouble is that whenever the selector was there, I had a shocker. Like the time, when I got out and night watchman, second ball of the day, with Mickey Stewart there, trying to help Mike Gatting pick his side for the West Indies tour, for instance. I just didn't take my opportunities. Silly me. But anyway, fascinating opportunity for all those players. And I hope Shoaib Bashir gets it together, because he definitely has got something. He's quite an unusual bowler, and he just needs that bit more control to take his game forward. Anyway, so this first round of games, as I say, Essex v Surrey is probably the game of the round. We haven't talked much about Durham. I mean, having interviewed Tim Bostock last week, they're always a challenging team to play against. And he was saying that Stokes and Bryden Cass and Matt Potts were all out there loosening up this week, and they'll hope to get Stokes into play for them at some point before the Zimbabwe test. And likewise, Bryden Cass, lots of runs in the bank with Durham as well. So, another team that could just edge in to compete against Surrey. But I'll tell you one other little story I quite like regarding the county championship is Warwickshire, who not only have got Alex Davies as captain, but they brought in James Thomas from Manchester City as high performance director. Now, that's quite an interesting move, isn't it? And it shows that county cricket is moving into the modern world, because he's a sort of data analysis specialist who's worked in rugby and also in, obviously, Premier League football. So he brings a different sort of expertise to the Warwickshire camp. And I suppose it's an indication of the direction of travel. Now every county has a regular analyst who plots every ball and gives sort of team information, individual information, documentation, stats, video clips to every player of opponents or their own performance to really analyse it. And, in the old days, it's like you wander into the Lord's Pavilion on a particular week, and the averages would be posted on the notice board, just written out in hand, the averages for the season so far. And that was the only way you really knew how you were doing. But I mean, now every ball is analysed, about 250 different data points from every delivery bowl. So you certainly, I suppose there's a danger for paralysis by analysis, if anything.
What were the most number of wickets you took in a first-class season, Yoz?
66, I think, in about the mid-80s.
And final question. At the start of the season, we're really nearly there, aren't we? Were you apprehensive, excited? Was it like, I'm really looking forward to the next 4 months ahead? Or are you thinking, this is going to be a bit of a slog? Or how did you approach the new season?
I was always really excited. Just the smell of the mown grass was enough, really. And, we hadn't been outside for, months, because we'd just had winter nets indoors. And just the opportunity to bowl on grass was wonderful. The nets at Lords were always immaculate, and, running up to bowl your first few balls in the nets in April was really exciting. The other thing you get is you get immediately stiff, because the cold air and the lack of outside practice just really ravages your body initially as a bowler. Everything hurts for a few days. You feel like you've pulled every muscle in your body, wrenched everything out of its sockets. So you feel a bit sort of weird. There's excitement, and yet that overexcitement has caused you to twinge. I was lucky to be in a very strong squad of players at Middlesex, and part of it was just, I want to show great form in the nets because I want to play in the first match. I want to be in that side for the first few games and compete and win matches for my county and get us on a roll.
And you had that great enthusiasm at the start of the season. So that was my final question. There's one more corollary question. At what point did you start to think, This is a bit of a hard slog. This is a bit of hard yakka. I wouldn't mind it to rain today and a day off or a day playing cards up in the dressing room. Or did you always want to get out there, whatever day of the year it was?
I wish I could say that I did, but no. I would say about May the 5th.
May?
May the 5th, when you played virtually every day for the whole of April, you did want a day off by then. And so early May, you started, a few little kind of muscle injuries would sort of creep in. You need a bit of massage, a bit of tape round a thigh or something like that. So after that, probably from May onwards, you're managing your injuries and your workload a bit more, and the odd rainy day comes in handy. But certainly this time of year, you just want to get out there and play.
Well, there's lots of cricket to be played in April and May, with I think 8 rounds of Championship cricket
and that's
scheduled.
the trouble, isn't it?
7
It's
matches.
the trouble if you don't hit the ground running as a county, you're kind of almost playing catch up for the rest of the season, because those early games finish about mid to late May, and if you haven't won any by then, you'll be bottom of the table and struggling to make up for lost time when the rest of the season comes round. It's you've got to get going early. Absolutely right. So listen, we're just going to finish, by the way, with one other little thing, a Somerset story as well. Interesting story. This is a bat maker in Somerset near Glastonbury. You may not have heard of them, actually. World Class Willow. The guy who founded that company, Mike Kennedy, was formerly in the British Army, and he was posted in Iraq. He was an engineer, and he was standing on top of a building, a shipping container, which was a sort of a depot building. So it was about 20 feet up in the air on a roof, fixing an aerial. A bomb went off somewhere. He was blown off the roof, landed on his back, broke his back, was in hospital for 2 years, had to leave the army. Very sad story, obviously, tragic for him. But he set up a bat company. He was always a cricket lover. He just loved the idea of making bats. He was a bit of a carpenter in his spare time. He set up this bat company, World Class Willow, and they now supply quite a few of the Somerset players. And as we'll hear from Lewis Gregory, there's no better bat maker in the country. Yeah. So you can buy World Class Willow bats in any good sports store. And their depot, as I said, is down in Somerset. So look out for that. They're not cheap, but they are incredibly good. Also, just to mention our sister podcast, Storylines, they came out with a new episode today, talking actually about Charlotte Edwards as the new England women's coach and other topics. So listen out for that. Storylines, the women's cricket show, and also the blog, the Crickverse. Subscribe to that and you'll enter that free draw for England v India Test match tickets at Lord's this summer. The Crickverse, CRICVERSE. And do you realise we've got through the whole of this episode and we haven't mentioned the IPL, Simon?
No, well, that's for another day. It's good luck to all county cricketers. May your muscles endure over the next 6 months, and may the sun shine most of the time. And when you want a day off, okay, it can rain every now and again. Goodbye for now.